Hey everyone, Simon here once again for fundamental changes in what is being called Simon Says. This is episode 2. Hopefully you may have seen the first one. Today I'm going to talk about busting ruts. This is one of my favorite topics to teach on the guitar and was a question I had from one of you lovely people who responded to my message. He said, one of the readers said, how do I bust out my ruts? So I'm going to talk about that for a few minutes today on this lovely Saturday afternoon. So how do you bust out of ruts? Well, today isn't really a playing video. It's me giving you a ton of different ideas for you to bust out of where you might have got in a groove or mindset. Hi, Mark. Thank you for logging on. So if you've got a pen or you've got a pencil or something to write things down, that might be useful today. Or you can watch this back on here and at a later date it will go out on YouTube. So the first thing I tell my students, and it may be possible for some of you, it may not, when you're in a rut, is use a different guitar. Now, some of these things today might sound so obvious that I say, but often they make an enormous difference. So if you've been playing the same guitar for ages, and this only applies to people who have more than one guitar. I appreciate there might be some people with only one guitar. That's fine too. But if you've been using the same guitar, first thing I can give you as a pointer, use a different guitar. Now, if you normally play an acoustic, play an electric. If you normally play an electric, play an acoustic. That is a really quick way for you to play differently, just by a simple addition. Sometimes people come to me saying, I'm stuck in a rut, I've been stuck in a rut for ages. And I say, okay, use a different guitar. And they're like, oh, suddenly that made a difference. Borrow a friend's. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy loads of new guitars. Please don't get in trouble with partners and things like that. But what I am saying is go down to your local music shop, try one out, play a different guitar. So that's point number one for busting out of your ruts. The next one is a personal favorite of mine, is use a pedal or a different effect. Okay, so students come to me and they say, I want to buy one pedal that is going to make me not be in a rut. What would I buy? Well, without a shadow of a doubt, buy a looper pedal. Absolutely, for me, there is no question in terms of what is the most useful thing to practice, a looper pedal, because it's always only ever as good as you are. That's what I love about a looper pedal. When you play with other musicians, they're either of a similar level, they're not quite as good as you, or they're way above. The looper pedal is always as good as your own ability. That's why I love it so much. I'm using here a little ditto looper. They're not that expensive. I don't know, $100, maybe a little bit more. There are different ones. You don't have to use this. And if you can't afford that, then go on your phone, if you've got a smartphone or a tablet, and use a voice memos function and just record a little loop and play over it. That is a fantastic way to break out of a rut. So that's a quick one, but then you can use a creative effect to bust out of a rut. This is an auto filter pedal or auto wah that I like to refer to as the cat's butt. Now, I'm sure that is fairly obvious why I refer to that as the cat's butt. This is by CKK Electronic, not a very expensive pedal, and that's why I'm showing you this one first. It gives you a different effect, and therefore you will play differently. Today's thing is all about, if you've been in a rut, and I know people are all the time, and I get in them too, these should help you. So point number one, use a different guitar. Point number two, use a pedal. Simple stuff. And here I've got my Strymon Big reverb pedal. Again, hours and hours of fun. If you're in a rut, use a pedal. Number three, if you're in a rut, is create a video diary. Why does that help? Well, I think it helps a lot because when you look back on where you were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, and you think, I have improved. That inspires you to play more. It does in my own playing, it does in my students, it does when everyone comes to me and they say, I'm in a rut. And they look back and they go, oh, I've come on so far since then. The motivation, the enthusiasm is back. And therefore, so it's kind of a different one. People come to me and they're expecting me to go, learn a new, this and that and the other. We'll get to that. But create a video diary and make sure it's dated. That's point number three. Different guitar, effects pedals, video diary. The next one I've kind of covered, use a loop pedal or a recorder. Transcribing. So I could spend the whole rest of this session talking about the fact that I think transcribing is the most important skill a guitarist can work on. At Fundamental Changes, Levi is one of the best transcribers in the world, and he does it all day, and that's why, one of the reasons why he's a phenomenal player. Now, I'm not saying you have to transcribe the latest Guthrie Govan tune. It could be one chord you heard on the radio. It could be a melody from the latest song you like. Hi, is it Javier, or I don't know whether you're Portuguese or Spanish. I've mullered it either way. Let's move on. Lovely to have you here. Transcribe one thing a week. It could be one chord. I remember when I was younger, I was watching, my parents were watching, I was about 13 years old, and my parents had a TV show on, and it had a chord progression, and the chords were D minor, A minor, Spanish. I think that's an H sound then for me. Javier, possibly. D minor, A minor, E minor, F. I spent the whole week transcribing this. But that taught me incredible discipline. And as you can tell, even after 15, 16 years, I still remember it. If you transcribe it, you'll remember it. If you read it off a tab sheet, chances are you don't have to put in the effort. So it might just be you've got the radio on, and there's a lick that you like, and it just goes A minor pentatonic phrase. Not difficult. I'm not going to tell you how to do that because you can transcribe it. It might be that there's a chord sequence that you really like on the radio that goes, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to tell you what those chords are. You can work them out if you like that. But pick something you like, one thing a week, 52 new things a year by you using your ears, okay? People always come to me and I say, play the guitar with your ears and your brain, not your eyes and your hands. Use these. These are your tool. So that's tip number 3, transcribing. Again, I'm not breaking these down in detail today. I'm saying to you, here's some ideas, go away and use them. If you've just joined, welcome. My ideas so far are use a different guitar or go to the guitar store. Please don't get in trouble with partners. I'm not about to start that argument. Use a pedal or a different effect. Video diary yourself so you can see how far you've come. Inspire yourself. Go, wow, 2 years ago I had sounded awful and today I sounded slightly less awful. That's generally how I go about it. No, I'm kidding. I try not to be that negative. Transcribing is the next thing. So then we get into specific things. Now, what I like to do is use a different, what I refer to as guitar tool, okay? The guitarist toolbox can have a lot of stuff in it. We normally use a plectrum of some sort, or to the Americans in my audience here, you call it a pick. I tend to call it a plectrum, but I'll call it a pick for the purpose of this. I use Jazz 3 Jim Dunlops. It's about the only thing I am funny about when it comes to guitar. I will not use another plectrum. I'll play different guitars, I'll play different strings, I'll play different amps. I'm not fussy, but this guy is my go-to plectrum. But if you want to bust out of a rut, put your pick down, finger pick. If you want to bust out of that rut, hybrid pick, use a pick and fingers. This is just basic stuff I'm just giving you here. Then I'm going to show you some of the things in my guitar toolbox. Mine is not particularly special, but if I'm doing a session or work like that, I will have a thumb pick, okay? So this is basically a Jazz 3 pick with a little arch that you can sit on your thumb to look like that. As I said, today is not so much about playing, it's about you having new ideas. Buy a thumb pick. This is by, who did I buy this by? This was just on Amazon. I looked at different thumb picks and I picked one that looked like that. Okay, next thing you can have in your guitar toolbox is a decent capo. I guarantee you, you put one of these on and you start even playing some nice open chords. You'll be inspired again. That's capo at the 4th fret. I personally use Kaiser capos. I am not endorsed by any of these things I'm talking about right now, other than Taylor, who provide me with these. I should point that out. Thank you, Taylor. The other things I am showing you here, I'm not endorsed by. Kaiser Capos by a Kaiser Capo. All right, next up, the slide, the mighty slide. Again, a different tool. Have you ever tried a slide? Have you ever tried a capo? Have you ever tried a capo with a slide? Have you ever tried a thumb pick and a slide? You can see now, hopefully your brain's going, whoa, Simon, I'm no longer in a rut because I have new ideas. I'm not saying that that day you're going to be out of your rut and sounding amazing. I'm going to say the enthusiasm's back and therefore you will want to play. That's what I'm all about. Enthusiastic, I'm passionate about making people play more. That's what I'm all about. Okay, here's a slide. Dunlop glass slide. I use my ring finger. There's debate about that. That's for another time. Little finger there. These are also cool. I bought one of these hula hand slides because you can put it on there like that. Oh, the right way around, preferably. And then you can slide it around and you can kind of still play normally. So hula hand, they're pretty cool. So in terms of the guitar toolbox, slides, plectrons, you can get different picks, of course. I only talked about one. Capos, thumb picks. Here's one some of you may not have seen. You may well have done. A mini capo. What is a mini capo? Well, it allows you to put it over the guitar and it covers specific sets of strings. Therefore, those ones don't need to be changed to tuning and you can access altered tunings without having to go through the process of tuning to it. This is, who's guessed it? A Kaiser mini capo, a useful tool. So people come to me and they want tools for their toolbox. Again, you're not going to master all of these in a day. Pick one. I really like the sound of a capo. I work with acoustic artists and a vocalist. I want to break out my ruts. Capo. Okay, recap. Anyone who's just joining. Use a different guitar. Don't always buy them. Go and try one out or borrow one off a friend. That was point number one, breaking out of ruts. Use a pedal or a different effect. Use a video diary, see how far you've come. Use a looper pedal and record your own ideas and play over that with yourself. Transcribing. And then the guitarist toolbox, capos, mini capos, thumb picks, slides. There's others. Okay. Hopefully, if you've got any questions, by the way, please write them in the comments below. I'm here to help. Next thing you can do is you can use an altered tuning. Again, this could be the topic for an enormous amount of study. And if you are interested in altered tunings, I'm going to do a little plug here. Please go and check my DADGAD book out for a full breakdown. What is an altered tuning? Standard tuning is E, A, D, G, B, and E. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. So as soon as you adapt one of those strings, you are in an altered tuning. The most common altered tuning is making the low E string a D. And if you're wondering how I did that, I just matched up the 6th string with the 4th string. Then you have drop D, new tuning. Go check it out. That's not the point of today's lesson. It's if you haven't experienced that before, go and play and drop D. DADGAD, D, A, D, G, B, E. Open tunings, open D, open E, open G, etc. Great for with a slide. Open tunings, okay? Enormous topic. Check out my book on DADGAD. All right, little plug there. Hopefully you're getting something this here. So other things you can do are what I refer to as restrictive therapies. Okay, that's a little bit of a title, where you are allowed to play a certain amount of frets, a certain way, a certain idea. My most common of these is you're only allowed to play on one string. Try and put up on a backing track. You're welcome, Javier. I'm all about enthusiasm. I really hope you can go away from this and have a ton of new ideas. That's what I'm all about. Watch this back. Go and put on a backing track, any backing track, and allow yourself to only play on one string. It's a lot harder than it sounds, all right? But it will focus your ear to melodic notes, okay? So if your backing track is in, I don't know, B minor, B minor, G, A, B minor. Yeah, I'm acoustic today because I can be bothered to rig up all my amp. So there's my chords. So I'm going to play on the B string. I'm going to work out my scale. There's my minor pentatonic on the B string. Open 3, 5, 7, 10, 12. Here's my blues scale. Open 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12. You're only allowed to play on that one string. Then go away, try and do the same backing track on a string that isn't the root note. Can you play your B minor pentatonic scale starting from the G string? Can you play your B minor pentatonic scale starting from the E string? What's the first note? Hard. But what it does is it means you're not going. Helps keep guitars in tune. It means you're not just going back to your box shapes. So go over your one string approach, soloing. Great idea to do. Then play on two strings. So you allowed yourself to be in the G to solo. Then play on two strings that aren't adjacent. Be in the D. Phenomenal way to bust out of your ruts, because guitarists all use shapes all day. I've got nothing against shapes. I learned that way. I use them all day. But if you want to break out of sounding the same as everybody else, try playing on one string at a time, two strings at a time, adjacent strings, non-adjacent strings. And if you want to learn more about this, check out my melodic rock soloing book. There's tons in there. So other ideas you can use double stops instead of single notes. So if you're finding that in your playing you're always using a single note pattern, try and work on just using double stops or two notes at a time. Yeah, my guitar won't sit in tune now. I'm underneath big lights and that in this room. So if you're always playing one note at a time, double stops. Again, a phenomenal amount of resource on that. I'm not going into each thing today. I'm just saying, try this, try that, do this, do that. Other ideas that you can check out are trying new techniques. So tapping, legato. I talked about using a thumb pick. At the moment, I'm working on flamenco techniques, or the rasgueados. Apologies, Javier. I've probably absolutely mullered your word there as well. Yeah, you can pick a new technique that you like from a different style, grab it and put it into your own style. Most of you know I play funk and neo soul for a living. That's what I do. Okay, in terms of when I'm not writing books. But there might be a new technique. It might be slap harmonics. That's a cool sound. I'm not going to explain how to do that. I'm giving you a starting point. Okay, so here's two techniques I'm working on. Slap harmonics, which is where you slap up 12 frets from where the chord is. That's a G minor 7. And rasgueados. Here they sound together. Thank you, Javier. I appreciate it. Okay, work on a new technique. What might that be? Pick it from another style. Might be country. It might be chicken picking. It might be funk. Might be strumming. Might be legato. Might be alternate picking. Might be tapping of some sort. Whatever you fancy. You can see, hopefully now, you can see, whoa, there should never be a time. No, I'll rephrase that. We all get in ruts. But there should never be a time when you're not enthusiastic about playing. That is something I come up against all day. I just don't want to play. Do something different. The other little tip I can give you, and this one blows some of my people away with how simple it is, and they look at me like I've gone nuts. Keep your guitar out of its case. Do not put them away in a case in your house. You will play it more, I promise you. Buy a stand, put it on the sofa, put it out. Leave it out while you watch a game. Leave it out while you watch an episode. Leave it out while, whatever it is. Leave your guitar out and you will play more. So to recap there today, there's lots of hopefully new ideas. Using pedals, using different guitars, using different techniques, using different backing tracks, using fundamental changes using a different book, using a different genre. I play metal, but I like country metal. I like funk, but I like blues funk. There should never be a time where you can't be inspired to play. Hopefully you've enjoyed this Simon Says episode 2. This will be saved on the Fundamental Changes website here, and at a later date I will be putting this onto our YouTube channel. I love getting the chance to speak to people all around the world. I don't take this lightly. I'm really glad when people write to me. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Javier. If there's any more questions, you can put them after this video. Be inspired. Keep playing. Hit me up if you've got any questions. While my guitar gently weeps. Absolutely, mate. It'll be weeping this week with all the new ideas. Take care. There are many more ideas you can take, but hopefully some of those things I've talked about today can inspire you in your playing. See you next time for another episode of Simon Says. If you've got more questions, hit me up. Laters.